going to talk to you now about my pike angling. I started pike angling when I was 12 years old. I was just going into the first year in high school, and what got me into pike angling was a local pike fishing league here in Northern Ireland in the 90s. There was a lot of pike angling, match angling for pike, and it was sort of a double-edged sword for me. In a way, it educated me how to fish for pike. I met some really good anglers, and it highlighted to me a lot of the negatives about match angling for a species like pike. Back in those days, there was no such thing as unhooking mats. You had guys turning up to try and net pike with trout angling equipment, trout angling nets. Woefully inadequate would be how I would describe most of it. Now, it's not right to look at something by today's standards and look back in time, but at those early days of my pike fishing, you couldn't really buy pike fishing equipment. Sure, you could get some rods, but your basics, your wires, your floats, we were still making a lot of that ourselves. I can remember making drop arms for pike fishing with wine corks and bamboo sticks, and you'd spray paint the cork so it would be like a luminous orange, or rather you spray paint it white, then you'd spray paint it orange, and that would make it kind of day glow a little bit. Then you'd use 2 map pins and stick them into the end of the cork. Now, to add weight to your drop arm, it was a case of simply cutting up strips of lead and folding it over the drop arm, over the bamboo stick that held it. Really, really primitive stuff. I mean, the first drop arm that I ever seen was by a company called Midi, and then Lida made drop arms, but they were again, fairly basic. They did the job, but more so that's because it's all we had. Fox then started to make pike angling gear, and it was it was a breath of fresh air here, especially in Northern Ireland. The Fox gear tended to be, your usual mass-produced stuff that was, some of it was crap, some of it was very good. I still to this day own the original Fox drop arms that I got when I was a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid. But this isn't about the progression in pike angling technologies. This is about the rods that I used from when I first started pike angling to now. I can't actually show you the very first rod that I caught a pike on because I don't have it anymore, I don't own it. It was a 9-foot Shakespeare ugly stick spinning rod. I think it was a 60-gram casting weight, and out of that you'd have been throwing a mackerel, a wire trace, at that point maybe a 2 or 3 ounce lead, and your reel would have been like I think I started off with Daiwa bite and runs, and there's a reason why I don't trust Daiwa reels at all anymore, and it's because of those 2 reels that I was given, the Daiwa bite and runs. They were terrible, terrible reels. I can remember one of them exploding in the middle of playing a pike and having to pull the line through the rod because the reel had just went into crap. So that kind of scarred me for Daiwa reels, it really did. But the very first pike rods, now genuine, proper pike rods that I ever had, were made by a company called Shakespeare. They were called the Persuit Pike, and they were, I guess you could describe them as fairly agricultural to compare them with today's pike rod blanks. They were, they say they were 12 foot and 3 pound test curves, but whether you could trust that is another matter. This is the beast, a Shakespeare pike, 12 foot long, 3 pound test curve. Now, you'll see that I have marked that with some white paint. That was from the reel, where the reel sits, here, to there is about a foot. So if you were measuring distances, you pull that out and that would be a foot. It was the reel seat was actually okay. The reel seat held the reels, from what I can remember, they were quite good, but it was pretty thick based, thick rod, and for casting wise, the butt eye was fairly small. I think that's actually a 28mm butt eye, but the top section had 5 eyes, and again, by today's standards, looking at this tackle, it's a little bit agricultural, but this RRP'd back in the day for, I think it was £70 per rod, and I know I saved up all the pocket money, the Christmas money, the birthday monies, and any other monies that I had available, and I ended up buying 3 of these. 2 of them I still have to this day, and they were used, you know, for the longest time as marker rod and spod rods for other fishing. But yeah, so as a 13 or 14-year-old, £70 each for a designated pike rod was a lot of money. So that was the very first pike rods that I ever owned as an angler. I'll be honest, they weren't the best. I don't want to be too overly critical, because again, as a teenager, you're kind of learning your craft. You don't really want to be given the finest of tackle, because you'll end up possibly breaking it. So you want stuff that's kind of rough and ready that can stand up to it. So the Shakespeare Persuit Rod. When I left Omagh at 19, I went off to join the military, went off to join the Air Force. I still fished, I still enjoyed my angling, but now I had a bit of disposable income, I had a little bit of cash coming in. So I ended up buying myself a model of rod called the Gray's Prodigy. Now, Grays were more so famous for their salmon angling stuff. They were very, very good at making salmon rods. Let me set this top section down out of the road here. But it's one of the first items of kit that I would ever class as a really beautiful fishing rod. In fact, I'll spin it around the other way again here. Right side. That is the Gray's Prodigy. This was a 12-foot long, 3-pound test curve rod. Beautifully finished. The reel seat was again rock solid, a full cork handle with a steel butt cap at the bottom. So when you're setting the rod down, it's not going to get destroyed. But the reel seat was really, really good. Only problem that I thought of this rod at the time, it didn't have an eye to catch, like to attach a hook to, and it could have benefited with a line clip. But on later rods, these were all sort of added onto it. But at this point in time, this was like Gray's first ever attempt at pike angling, at fishing for pike. Now, the Prodigy didn't last on the market too long. They upgraded it, which was a real pity, because anyone that has these rods, even to this day, these rods are still hold their value. People will still buy them. If you go onto some of the forums, people will still actively look for them. So I still have a set of 3 of them, and you know, if somebody comes out fishing with me and they need tackle, they need gear, then the chances are they're going to get the use of one of these rods. You can tell the progression in angling, because the first eye on the rod, the butt eye, is almost a centimetre bigger than the Shakespeare one that I started off with. But again, this is the rods, this is the type of rods that I had pike all over the UK, and these rods have never let me down. Gray stopped making the Prodigy range of tackle, Prodigy range of pike rods which was a great shame, because when you bought these rods originally they came with a lifetime guarantee, and I still have the guarantee on the rod bag. You know, you still have the little guarantee from Gray's. You know, and the one thing that I could never fault Gray's for was their customer service. I mean, anyone that I know that's had Gray's gear that's went wrong, the Gray's customer service has always been spot on and always helped them. Gray's upgraded Prodigy to another beginning with P. It was the Prowler range of rods. These rods came again with a reel seat that was rock solid, really good reel seat. It had a carving out in the handle where you could glue an isotope, so if you're fishing at night you could see your rod again. Full cork handle except for the last maybe inch and a bit with the foam, and again a steel cap to stop the bottom of the rod getting trashed. You'll notice this rod also has a line clip and a loop to attach your hooks onto. This is Gray's attempt to beef up the range, so to speak. Again, like its big brother the Prodigy, the Prowler are 12 foot long, but they are 3.5 pound test curves. A bit heavier means you can throw a bit bigger bait, which means you can use heavier leads and get your bait out a bit further. They did make a 12 foot 3 pound test curve version, but I never ever picked up that. I picked up 2 of the Prowler rods through, well, my wife bought one for a Christmas present, and the other one I managed to win in a raffle. So again, because they're made by Gray's, again, bomb-proof rods, really well made, and to this day I would have no problems using them or recommending them to anybody. Now we're going to come to the rods that I use today. A couple of years ago I came into some money, and I decided that I was going to ask a professional rod builder, a guy called Dave Lumb. I'd put his link in the description below. But Dave builds rods. You name the species, he could build a rod perfect for it. The man is a magician when it comes to rod building. It's I can't say enough good things. I asked him to build me a custom set of his BB350 series rods. The BB standing for Bait Blaster. The name goes that they are designed to put your bait and your lead to the horizon without undue problems. They are a cracking blank for a rod. Harrison blanks, 12 foot long, 3.5 pound test curve. These rods are the cream of the crop for bait fishing for pike. I asked him to make me a set of 3 of these, and I got them named. Yes, I know, a little bit tackle tartish, but you know, what are you going to say? I had the money, I decided I needed the rods. These are the ones I'm going to use for probably the rest of my angling life. Discussing the handle, again, full length cork handle with a metal butt cap to stop the bottom of the rod getting destroyed. There's a theme, I like the metal base plates on the butts of the rod, so when you set your rod down, the cork handle just doesn't disintegrate and the rod doesn't start to destroy from the bottom. The reel seat, again, rock solid reel seat. That reel's not moving anywhere once it's put in there. And the top of the rod, you can see that there is a hook for your line to clip onto, and you'll also see that there is a line clip there. This is paired up with the Shimano XT EA 10,000 series. This is their super bait runner, and that's spooled with 20 pound mono. This is the rod that I do all my pike angling with at the minute. It's getting the job done without any problems, and this is, I don't want to have to worry or worry that my tackle will fail. I want to get to where I'm fishing, I want to bait up, and I want to get the bait into position. and then I want to sit back and wait for the run. I don't want to have to spend my time thinking, is this going to let me down? These rods, I can guarantee that they won't let you down. They've also built me a pair of the bigger version of these. They built me a pair of, they're called D3s. They are a 13-foot long rod that is 4-pound test curve. Those rods really are the epitome of distance or big bait fishing. I don't have them out here, I'm not going to take them out, they're in the shed. But again, with the Day of Lumb stuff, you could say to him, I want this colour of whip and thread, I want it whipped up this style, I want this many rings on it, I want... You could name it to your specification to a T, and he will take it away and build it. He will take your vision and turn it into pike angling rod perfection. So that is the top of the tree. Now to compare that from where I started to where I am now, it's almost like chalk and cheese. It's almost like, you know, two different sports. If I was pushed today and told I was going to have to use the Persuit Pike Rods, I'd probably grumble and I'd bitch and I'd moan, but I know I could go out and catch pike with them, even though they are a bit, they'd be very retro, so they would. The Grays rods that I have here, the Grays rods, I have no problems in recommending Grays to any angler asking for recommendations for pike fishing rods. The Grays rods actually aren't that expensive. You can shop around and get like a Grays Prowler, they're 12-foot 3-pound or they're 3.5-pound test curve. You can get those rods for like £100 a piece. You know, I've seen them on rod and reel combos where you get like a Shimano 10,000 reel and a pike rod, the Grays Pike Rods, and they're not that expensive. It's like 150 quid. So to start off as a pike angler, 150 quid in today's money, you know, that's pretty damn good. That's well worth the money. The reason that, like I say, I went for like Day of Lumb to build me rods was I had the money. I didn't want to sit around and drink it away or waste it away or just, you know, fritter it away and spend it in bullshit. So I decided that I was going to buy something that was going to last me for probably the rest of my angling career. I got these built before I got married to my wife, so I could have said to her, you know, I don't need to go and spend money on pike rods anymore. Honest love, I'm not buying expensive fishing tackle, you know, cross my heart and all that sort of stuff. No, that fishing rod didn't cost a lot of money. All those lies that anglers tell their wives, you know. But we're planning to have a family, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. But I know one day, you know, if the little kids that happen to come along and they want to go into angling, I know that I've got fishing rods that they can use that I've not, that, let's face it, I would have no issues going back to using the Grays rods today if I had to. I would recommend them to anybody, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be very special when, you know, you hand some item of gear to your future offspring and say, let's go and catch that first pike. I think that's going to be a very special day that I can look forward to in the future. So that's the pike angling rods. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the in-depth discussion on, you know, how the sport has changed. Pike angling has become a lot more popular over the years, and thankfully there's a lot more people now that understand pike are they're not a vermin fish as they once were viewed. They're a very delicate apex predator that need to be protected and looked after. It's a slow process here in Northern Ireland and in the south, where we have a very powerful angling lobby that is very anti-pike. They tend to blame pike for the declining numbers of trout and game species. This is scientifically illiterate. This has been proved to be incorrect, but you're dealing with people that, well, you're dealing with people that don't care. In their brain, this is what they think, and that's how they act. So, but like I said, things are improving with groups like the Irish Pike Society, There is improvements. Even now the Irish governmental bodies, they are beginning slowly, the cog is slowly beginning to turn to realise that they need to start to behave themselves, and that pike anglers in this place aren't prepared to sit back and let them destroy the sport just to placate some people that, you know, aren't the most educated and are, well, they're mostly ignorant of fisheries management and fisheries science. But like I said, I'm not going to ramble on here too long. This was just meant to be a quick video of how my pike angling equipment, like the rods and stuff, has changed from a brush shaft with eyes to what I use now. If you have any questions, lads, feel free to drop them into the comments box, and I'll happily answer them. If you're watching this and you like what you see, then go over and click that wee subscribe button and share the videos and make comments and like it and all that other crap that you have to do for YouTube. But no, thanks for watching.